Welcome, everybody, to We Geek Podcast. Today is January 13th, 2020, first podcast of the year for us. Episode 182. My name is Adam, and as always, joined by my good friend Logan.
Hello.
What up, man? How's your week been, dude?
Uh,
Or weeks, I guess, for us.
yes. Same old.
Oh, yeah.
Work,
I
and a little more work.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, work's been crazy for me, too. For whatever reason, this time of year is nuts.
Well, everybody gets all their new toys. They don't know what they're doing.
Exactly. I'm looking forward to getting a new toy next week, which should be fun.
Oh,
Big
yeah?
old discount, yeah. So it's basically free, so I just have to wait. I've been waiting for like a year now to be able to pull this discount, but yes, I'm looking forward to it.
Nice. There you
go. Yeah. But yeah, dude, yeah, I've been crazy busy too. I haven't been able to go to the theater. We're going this weekend though to see 1917.
Oh, good choice.
Yeah, we were supposed to go this week, but I was gonna go, but my family was like, "No, we want to see it." And it's finally a movie because they always ask Adam, "Hey, you want to go see this movie?" And usually I've seen it or whatnot, and finally there's a movie out that they want to see that I haven't seen yet. So
yeah,
and I hear it's good. Have you seen it?
I have. Yeah, it is fantastic.
Yes, yeah, I can't wait. Everything that I've seen the trailer, and I've seen this like behind the scene clip of, and I don't know the context, obviously. I mean, I know it's World War I, but I guess in the movie where he's like running towards the camera, and all the soldiers look like they're in a trench, and they're getting out of the trench and moving from like right to left, and and I know the movie's like made to look like one long shot.
Yeah.
But they just pull the camera back, and for this scene, it looks like they actually do. Oh, it's a good like 5 minutes.
There are very clear segments in the movie where you see, if you studied like Birdman in particular, you can see like, oh yeah, this is how they disguise different kinds of cuts, especially like wipe cuts or blacks. But there are sometimes where there's just you can't do anything but a straight long shot, and this is definitely one of those. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. It looked incredible. And the reviews are out of this world right now. So I'm excited. Were the Oscars just announced, right?
They were actually
the nominations.
Yeah. Basically, it's a great day to be a white guy in Hollywood.
Oh yeah, I haven't even looked at them. All I saw was the headline was like, "Wow, Joker leads a lot."
Yeah, Joker got nominated for so much. I think it was like 11 nominations or something. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, that's really surprising. I like the Joker, but I don't know. I guess we'll go over it in a little bit. I thought there've been some better movies this year. But I'm just shocked that that one got so many.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, we'll go over, I guess, all that in a little bit. But yeah, man, no, I've been busy, dude. I have fallen down the rabbit hole now of like fantasy.
Oh, what you got going on now?
Yes. Maybe I don't know if we'll talk about, but basically talk about now. Like, I started reading. Well, I'm all over the place with books. I have like severe ADD, so any time I get into something, for it to hook me and for me to go from beginning to end in the amount of time I do, and usually I do audiobooks, right? That's where I'll start. And it's easier for me just because of just moving around and doing whatever. And if I get the book halfway through it's because I want to go through it faster. I really like it. So I got the Dresden Files.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think I mentioned it to you. I don't know if you've seen it before. It's the series from like the early 2000s, I believe. There's 14 or 16 books. I'm not sure. 15. Sorry, there's 15 books. there, and from what I understand, there's a lot of good. There's some bad. I guess like any series that long.
Yeah.
And the idea behind it. Oh, and it was like a TV show that the Sci-Fi Channel did for like a season. Apparently, it wasn't too good because it wasn't exactly like not exactly like the books, but it didn't really follow the books. Anyway, the series is about this guy Dresden. He's in Chicago, modern day, and the gimmick of the book is that he's also a wizard, and he deals with the arcane and he deals with magic. And a cool part of that is there's a ghost trapped in his house named Bob. And he's actually like attached to this skull that he has, that Dresden has. And I, as much as I jumped into the book and I wanted to read the book, I kind of prefer the audiobook. The guy who does the audiobook, let me see if I can pull up his name. He's Spike from Buffy.
Oh, James Marston or Marsters?
You're right.
Yeah, I can't
Uh,
remember. I think it's James. I think it's Marston.
I'm terrible at pronouncing names, but you're right. You nailed it.
Yeah.
Yes. And he does such a good job because he nails that feel. It sounds like a noir novel or whatever movie that you're watching or listening to,
Right.
and it's
I can
yeah,
imagine it's just that sort of like it was noon at the office. He had
yes,
just walked in off the street. Like I can see that. I can see
yes.
that movie in my head.
It's so good, and it's exactly that, and it's this mystery, and it's this, but the trick is it's also fantasy based, and so you're dealing with magic and the magic system in that world, and it's really cool. And he has very good comedic timing, and what he you know it's all first person, so that's what makes it very easy to follow. The fantasy series I've been reading recently, The Wheel of Time, there's that's known for how crazy amount of point of views there are.
Right.
Kind of like, I guess, the best example, Game of Thrones. You get 1,000 characters, sometimes just thrown on you where you've never met them before. Wheel of Time is a little more like it's it you follow these characters for a few chapters, then you follow these characters for a few chapters, then you go back and they kind of rotate. But this is all one first person. So you're following them. I guess kind of like The Witcher. It's all him.
Right.
And so it's really good though. I blew through the first book, but like anything, if I do one thing, I kind of want to do something different. So then I jumped back to the Wheel of Time, and I'm almost done with the second. So it's which is the uh, uh hold on,
This
it's
because
the horn. Uh, oh God, let me pull it up here.
yeah, I can never remember the titles because there's 5 or 6 of them, I think.
Yeah. It's the hold on. Oh, I'm so bad. I should have this up. The Great Hunt, and they're finding the horn in it.
Right.
But yeah. So, and that one's it's crazy. You're going from the Dresden Files, where the book, for example, the audiobook's maybe 10 hours, where the 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 Eye of the World for Wheel of Time is almost 30. The Great Hunt is like 27 or so hours. So it was a bigger book. And oh, The Witcher also. We watched The Witcher, so I jumped into that as well. And
Nice.
trying to get through the first book, I don't know. I think I would prefer it if it was just from what I understand, like the third book in is where it starts more like a novel and less like short stories.
Yeah, but I love the short story aspect of the first couple books.
Yes, I do I like it too, but I don't know. In my head, I would think I would like that more, but for some reason, I'm like, maybe it's because I watched the show first, and I'm like, okay, some of these events I know,
Yeah.
but they're very different. Like so far the stuff in the book, like none of the Yennefer stuff happens. Uh,
Some of it in the first book, yeah. That's what most of the first book's about. The first
no,
book and the
well,
first season are
I'm
very similar.
sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't mean that. I meant like, I guess Yennefer when she was younger, not the wish stuff.
That's true. Yeah, her I just after reading the first, I think what have I done? The first two, I think, and I can't remember if I've read the second one or not because they like once I started reading, I just kept going and the
Gotcha.
second one is very similar in terms of that sort of uh back and forth kind of style.
I
So
wonder if they did they make up the universe stuff? Because
I
I don't know the.
I honestly
Books.
offhand do not know. I
Okay,
haven't read in far enough to know if maybe that's just covered in a later book
gotcha. That's
or
probably what
what.
it is.
But yeah,
Yeah,
I am not sure.
gotcha. But yeah, it's so I have severe ADD when it comes to these, so I'm all around. I'm jumping all over the place. But yeah, so that's kind of what I've been doing. Um, so yeah. Oh, and I also, we talked about this before. Because I started getting way more into these fantasy novels and the audiobooks and whatnot. I've also started my YouTube has really gone to watching Critical Role.
Okay.
Yes, with Matt Mercer and all of them, and a lot
Yeah.
of the voice actresses and actors, and Laura Bailey and all of them, and it's been really fun. I jumped in at the very beginning. The first few episodes, like anything else, are they're like, hey, we're brand new to this, we're starting out. The audio is a little funky, but then after a couple of episodes, they've updated things, and they're not talking over each other as much, and you can really kind of get into it. Just put it on, and each episode's like 4 hours, so you can put it on and do other things and still kind of listen, and you kind of really start to follow their story and their characters, and there's I don't know, it's been a lot of fun.
Nice.
That's been cool. And like, I guess spoiler alert, they were made canon. I guess that was kind of big news in the D&D world, is that they're they had like a run of like 117 episodes.
Yeah, for season 1.
Yes.
It's
And,
insane.
oh yeah, and their characters and the events that happen in that, and some big things at the end. I guess I won't spoil it. I think I've talked about it before on the show. One of the big things that happened in that, and in that world, is such huge news. Uh, Apparently, like some they were the Wizards of the Coast is releasing a new like adventure book with like the outcome of what's happened in their run. So that's crazy,
I
you know. To
hey, it just goes to show you start doing something with people and things can happen.
oh yeah, oh yeah. So that's real cool. So yeah, I've been watching that, and I've kind of like listened to some of their side podcasts where they like, oh hey, I'm Matt Mercer, and here's my story. So that's been kind of cool.
Didn't they aren't they getting like an animated prequel show?
They did. I think that was one of
That
yeah.
was the thing
So
that went like huge on Kickstarter or something, wasn't it? Like
yes.
6 months ago or whenever that was. Yeah, I remember
Oh
that.
yeah. Yes. Yeah. So I think they got like millions and millions of dollars, like $17 million in a little bit amount of time.
Yeah.
I think the idea was, hey, we're just gonna make like a little animated thing. And when it got so big, they're like, oh yeah, we can do a show. And also, they were picked up by Amazon. So that's another thing. Amazon is literally Thanos with the glove right now with fantasy shows, and they're putting Lord of the Rings, Wheel of Time, Critical Role all on the same channel, which is going to be crazy. And there's so many things you can do with that Critical Role stuff, especially because you can do the animation, and that's how Matt Mercer really. That's like his passion is animation. That's he wanted to go to school for it and everything, but then he took a step back. He went into like games developer, he's a game tester and stuff like that. And then he really just had like he played D&D a lot. And long story short, he is where he's at. But his passion is animation, so that's one of the many reasons why they had an animated show, or they're doing an animated show.
Right.
Uh, but yeah, Amazon go all over the place with that, and I don't know. And yeah, so it's been fun. So I've been kind of jumping around. And I always forget how to pronounce his name. The guy from Magic Mike, Joe, the big buff.
Manganiello.
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
And he's mixed in with them too. And the stuff that happens with his character is canon. Spoiler alert, which is insane. Um, I don't know. It's been real fun to kind of dive into that side of the world that I've tiptoed in. I've dived in before and then got out, but like I'm fully in the deep end now.
Yeah. Cuz they didn't they
Yeah.
start doing a second season not that long ago?
They did, yes. He's in the first season, for a little bit, and yes, they have a second season. I don't have information in front of me, but I could totally pull it up in a second.
That's craziness.
But yes, and I think really like I'm not too sure, but I think really only like one person is not on the show that was on the show for like the first 20 episodes. But for the most part, the cast is together. Oh, I went back and watched. I'm a big fan of Kind of Funny. Some of their earlier stuff, I would catch and not really get. And one of their earlier things, which is hilarious, is they did a Kind of Funny crossover with Critical Role, where
Okay.
they did a one-off episode where they just did an adventure, and the Kind of Funny people they've never did. I think maybe one of them did D&D before. The rest were brand new to it, but they're funny. They're comedians in their own head, I guess. They're hilarious. And then the Critical Role people, who are obviously professionals at D&D as much as you can get, but they're also fun as well. They're very funny. And they get on, they do an episode, and that episode was like 3 or 4 hours, and they have an absolute blast just having fun. The more they let go and just embrace the fun of it and the goofiness and the story, and they really got into it, the way more fun they had. It was so good. So I highly
Nice.
recommend. Yeah, and that's a good episode for people who have only seen D&D on the outside and they don't really understand it, because they do a very good job explaining it to them and going through the adventure and what role, when you would do this role and why you would do this other role. It's a very beginner's thing, and it's hilarious. Um, it's so funny. It's really good. So I don't know. It's a good time. So yeah, I watched that. They did 2 campaigns. They've done a lot of one-offs where that's where I assume they bring in like a lot of celebrities and stuff like that, or celebrities for the nerd world. Like I'm sure Will Wheaton and them have popped in, but Vox Machina is the first one.
Yeah.
I'm mispronouncing it.
Vox Machina, I think.
Machina, yes. And like I said, go look at the Joe stuff with that and how crazy that is. And then the second one is The Mighty Nin. So that has 90 episodes in it. So yeah, 121 for the first campaign, and then 90 for the second. And then there's
Yeesh.
a ton of one-offs, like 73. Yeah, it's insane. So yep, that's I don't know. That's what has been keeping me busy.
Yeah, I mean that'll do it for sure.
Yes. Oh yeah. So that's a lot of fun. But yeah, man. So, whew, sorry, talked there for like 20 minutes.
Ah, it's fine.
Yeah. So cool. So have you seen any movies or anything recently?
I did see just 1917.
Gotcha. Cool. I don't think anything outside of that I've seen recently. Cool. What did the box office do this week?
Box office was kind of to be expected, really.
Yeah.
Everybody going back to school and whatnot. Star Wars has fallen off. Just Mercy did fairly well, 10 million. Like a Boss, about 10 million. Probably not as well as they were expecting for that one. Jumanji, 14 million. Star Wars, 15 and change. 19, and I'm telling you, man, Jumanji's going to be there until June. I promise you, because that's exactly what happened last time. It just keeps, like, people keep coming to see it. It sells more than most anything on a given screening. It's insane. I can't stand it. Those places are a mess. But 1917, about 40 million. So a good, solid, strong weekend, especially the second week in January. Everybody's going back to school, holidays are over, people are winding down from all that stuff. Not everybody's going out as much anymore. But
yeah, I saw The Rock. I think he has a show now, right? Or it was just picked up.
It was just picked up. Yeah, his life is about to be an NBC comedy. Cause sure, why not?
That's it. Yeah, and I saw I saw on Facebook someone shared a video of he went and met, or he was doing his tour for his tequila, right? I don't know where he was at or what office he was in, but he was meeting the people there, and one of the employees, their daughter was such a big Rock fan that she told her daughter that it was bring your kid to work today, and she was going to surprise her and introduce her to The Rock. And And apparently he was totally cool. He was totally like, yeah, I'll do that, you know.
Nice.
And he sits down and talks to her, and the video is like 10 minutes long. And she's like, "What's your favorite movies?" And definitely right up there was Jumanji. Kids love that.
Oh yeah.
And it's great for adults too because it's so funny. So yeah, I thought that was cool. And then yeah, the news of his TV show, that's a no brainer. You know, the idea of I think he said he was like it's a mix between like what the Forrest Gump,
Yeah.
or it's gonna be like the Forrest Gump but with him. So that's cool. So anyway, sorry.
Is NBC gonna call it Until I Get to 30 Rock? Like,
Oh wow, that's a good one.
yeah, it's really not, but I tried.
Made me laugh.
It's a terrible joke. There are better ones. I'll find it. It's I mean, why not? He had to
Yeah.
have had quite an interesting life, so
Oh, yeah.
I mean, sure, why not?
Would you prefer something like that on NBC or like an HBO show where maybe he's a little bit older
I
and it's a
wouldn't
little
hate
more
that
real?
I wouldn't hate that on NBC. Like,
Right.
I think that's
Oh,
okay.
one thing I started watching with a friend, she introduced me to it, was Good Girls with Christina Hendricks.
Okay,
Have you seen that or heard of
no,
that?
I don't think I know that one.
Um, it's I guess it was on NBC. That's why I kind of bring it up. She knows I love Christina Hendricks, and I guess she caught it on Netflix one day. And when I came over, she was like, "You got to see this." She's like, "Your girl's in this. You got to see this." And it's basically Christina Hendricks, her younger sister. They're older. You know, Christina Hendricks is like a mom's age or whatnot. Her sister is a little bit younger, and one of their friends. They all get mixed into like it's kind of like Breaking Bad, but like NBC does Breaking Bad. Um, and they kind of get mixed in with these people that are criminals, and it's like a money laundering thing. And the whole idea is that these three women need the money for their kids for all different reasons, but it's all for their kids. And it's one of those things like I guess it's like commentary on modern day stuff. Like you shouldn't have to commit crimes if your kid is sick, but you have no other option to get that kind of money. You know, I think one of the girls' daughters needs a kidney. One of them is from what's the show? Parks and Rec.
Okay.
She was the girl who did the Treat Yourself.
Okay.
Oh, hold on, let me pull it up.
Yeah, you're asking the wrong guy there. I never.
Yeah, that's right. You never watched it.
Not really. Like, I've seen an episode here and there, but I've never really got into it.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I think her name's like Marita Shirley for whatnot. She was on Parks and Rec. So anyway, but yeah, so that's basically what it is. It's a NBC version of Breaking Bad. So all the stories get tied up nicely. Nothing, they make it seem like something crazy is gonna happen, and then nothing happens, and they're
Yeah,
fine. And
that's
it's
fair.
it's one of those things where Breaking Bad, it's like by the end of the season, everything's terrible. No one ends up happy. Oh, spoiler alert for Breaking Bad, but it's way more realistic. It's like, hey, it's fun at first, I guess, and they're making a ton of money, and you can understand why they're doing what they're doing.
Right.
But then Walter White actually becomes a villain, and it's one of those like it really fucks with you because you want to root for him, but now you know he's crossed a line. Where this one plays it safe, and it's like what they're doing is pretty screwed up. But at the end of the day, it's an NBC show there, so they're not going to do anything too nuts. But yeah, it was pretty good though. It's entertaining for sure.
Oh, that's good.
Yep. All right. Sorry about that.
No, it's all right.
Oh, wait. Another thing that I watched, I don't think we talked about it, was Don't Fuck with Cats.
Oh, yeah, okay, explain that to me, because I've seen it on Netflix, but I don't know, like, what is that?
Yes. So Don't Fuck with Cats. I was hesitant to watch it at first because it's about a real, so it's a documentary, and it's about a real world murder, and it's about this guy named Luca Magnotta. Magnota, I believe his name is.
Okay.
And I had no idea about this murder that happened. It was like in Toronto, but it all started with this guy who would record himself killing cats. And I was hesitant to watch it at first because I don't like animal cruelty, obviously, like most people. But
Yeah.
I don't want to see it, and I'd rather not watch a documentary about it because it would just get me upset. I didn't even know about the murder part of it because the documentary is called "Don't Fuck with Cats," so I assumed it was about like this guy who did things to cats, and it's basically about this internet group, like a Facebook group, that a few people saw the video and wanted to do something about it. And it's one of those things where, you know, what can you do? If you see a crime down your street, you call the cops. And it's very easy to say, I saw this robbery on this place, or I saw this, this guy punched somebody, or whatever have you.
Right.
It's very easy to call the police, tell them what happened, and them take care of it. You feel like, okay, I've done what I can. But when you see a video on the internet, who do you call? There's no internet police, right? And so it got them really riled up, and they've realized that someone created a Facebook group, and it was a group of like maybe, you know, 50 to 100 people, grew a little bit, and what they were doing is they were trying to figure out where this video came from. And so for a lot of this documentary, they were following these two people who were in this Facebook group, and they almost, they had their real world jobs, but at the end of the day, they would come home and they would be internet sleuths basically. And the idea is that they would watch the video over and over and over again, and we hear a Russian TV show. What TV show is that? Oh, that's this show, but that show stopped airing a long time ago, so it's either a rerun or it's a recording. Where they're trying to narrow down where it's from. Well, if this rerun, where could what channels would be playing? Oh, no channels actually host this show anymore. So whoever did this put a VCS, they recorded it somewhere, and they're watching it either on the internet or like a VHS tape. Oh, that's a phone jack in the wall. Only certain countries would have that. Oh, there's a package of cigarettes. Is there the general warning on it? That's only in North America. Like they would try and sleuth it basically. And the guy put out, so he put out one video. He kind of caught on to this group. He puts out another video. So then it becomes this like the group, and also they it gets really screwed up. They believe it's somebody, some guy in Africa. Long story. That's a long story, but it's not him. Uh, but the dude puts out more stuff, and this group realizes that this guy is aware of their group, and so do they stop? Because he goes, the next step in his movies is, instead of it being two cats, it's going to be a person, and he ends up doing that, and it's really fucked up. And by the end of it, you're like, even the people who are in the documentary are like, we fed into his ego, and it it got somebody killed. They have a sense of guilt, and like, but at the same time, they wanted to catch this guy, and it's frustrating because no one took them seriously. They would tell, because they would call who, they knew it was in Canada, they knew these certain cities, and no one took them seriously because it's just this internet group, right? This Facebook group, and they're doing a witch hunt basically. That's how they thought of it. And then of course someone ends up dead, and they're like, oh hey, we had these people call in and try and warn us of this, and he's still on the loose. So it's and then they're going about it, and I won't say what happens at the end. I mean, it's a real world thing. If you know about this guy who was crazy, and he was obsessed with movies. That was the thing you discover in his videos is, oh shit, this looks like this scene in this movie, and oh wait a second, this looks like this, and then like you begin to and they actually have the killer's mother in the documentary, and she's in like denial, and everything all the pieces kind of come together at the end, and it's such a sad story. Um, but it's a really well made documentary.
Uh,
Everyone should see it. It definitely makes you, you know, like any of these kind of documentaries, you don't want to. You got to be cautious when you go out into the world.
Right.
Be careful because someone could be crazy, but at the same time, I don't know. It's a real screwed up documentary, but it's called "Don't Fuck with Cats." It's probably the best documentary that Netflix has. Go out and see it. They don't show the animal cruelty. They show moments before it. Um, I guess I'll spoil that part just in case
Right.
you
'Cause yeah.
absolutely don't want to see it. Basically, he puts two cats in a vacuum seal bag, and they don't show that at all. They show the after effects of that. Um, but it's not gore. There's nothing like that. They don't show the act. You don't see any of that.
Right.
And then it moves on from there. And that's like in the first 30 minutes. So if that stuff really bothers you, you can, once it gets to that part, you can kind of skip it a minute or two, and then it goes off from there. And and then it gets more about what he did with who he murdered. So definitely go see it. It's on Netflix. But yeah, it's crazy, and it's this real thing that happened. So, but yeah, so I watched that. So sorry, and The Witcher, which I'm sure we'll talk about later.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's just.
And I want to say Junlin. He was the man who passed away. Well, he was the man who was murdered, and his life was taken. So I would definitely want to mention his name because that's that was the unfortunate person. Yeah, it's really fucked up. But sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. No, it's just that's people for you. What are you gonna do?
Yeah. Yep. Oh yeah. The good thing is there's way more good people than there are bad people. So at the end of the day, you got to look at it like that. You just got to be careful. You got to be cautious. You got to don't meet strangers on the internet. Be extremely careful about that. Basically, that's what happened with. That's how they just he put out an ad, and you got to be extremely cautious. Even if you're going to buy, I guess our audience would be going to maybe, this is why they shut a lot of Craigslist stuff down. But it's Craigslist is still around for like buying, like if you wanted to go buy a used Xbox One or something like that, go to a secure location. Make sure you're not alone. Make sure you're not an easy target. Don't I guess most people aren't going to be this crazy killer. I guess a lot of them would maybe try to rob you. So all I'm saying is go to a secure location where there's a lot of people, especially if it's someone you've never met. Make sure that you have a few people with you. And just be extremely careful. So sorry to bring it down, but let's move on. So with the movies, we said 1917, Star Wars, Jumanji, Like a Boss.
Yeah, and Just Mercy rounding out the top 5.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. This week we've got Doolittle, with Robert Downey Jr. and all of the.
I gotta say that doesn't interest me.
I'm curious about it. Like I'll watch it. I'm interested. If for nothing else than to see half the Avengers cast get back together and voice all the animals. But it'll be interesting.
That's right. There are a lot of voices.
There's a ton of them. It's crazy. But I don't know. Might be interesting. I think the big money this week, though, is Bad Boys for Life. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No question. Everybody I talk to is excited about that. Half the people that come through, most everybody at work, like they're all very hyped for this. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw an interview Will Smith did recently about. I guess I didn't know this, but I knew that he's married to Jada Pinkett Smith, and I guess he did an interview where he talks about like his jealousy of Tupac and how Jada Pinkett Smith and I guess Tupac grew up with each other.
Oh, really? That's
yeah, and maybe she dated him. He did. I didn't see that part of the interview, but he went in to talk about his insecurities of that, and they'd be in the same room together, and he wasn't going to talk to Tupac, and of course Tupac wasn't going to talk to him, but
right.
She and he was this, he says this, he's like, this is Tupac, this is Pac. And to her, Pac was like her idea of perfection. And he's like, here I am, this soft rapper from Philly. But he's like, I'm also, I'm Wilson, I'm doing the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. So he was like, we were both doing our own thing, blowing up. but he still had his insecurities, and he was saying one of his biggest regrets in life was being immature about it. And at the time, he couldn't get it out of his head, or he wished he did have a conversation with him. So I thought that was pretty cool. So
Yeah.
that's on the internet. So yeah,
Nice.
that's gonna be a good movie.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. It's gonna be good.
It's one of those like the Bad Boys movies are like they're not good movies, but they're good bad movies. If
Right,
that makes sense.
they're not films, they're movies.
Yeah, yes, exactly.
And that's
Uh,
I mean that's what you go in for.
they were the best kind of Michael Bay, if that makes
Yes,
sense.
agreed. Absolutely agreed.
Yeah. So that should be fun.
Yeah.
Cool.
But,
there were some trailers, right?
yeah, we got a couple. We got there was a New Mutants there was a New Mutants trailer, which it looked good.
I thought it looked pretty good.
I'm still excited for this. Very
That was
much.
the best trailer I've seen for it. We've seen like a million now, but that was probably the best one for it, I think.
Agreed. Definitely agreed. It kept you could still see like they are still keeping some of the horror elements. Like they're not shying away from that now that it's gonna be a Disney film or whatever. Like they're sticking with it. I'm all for that.
Yeah, it looks good.
And we also got the first Morbius trailer.
Oh yeah.
We saw it's set in a post Far From Home world.
Yes.
You could tell by the graffiti on the wall. They like the.
I was surprised by this.
I was too.
Because Venom, it didn't. There was no connections to Spider-Man in that one that were obvious.
Right, there was nothing like there was no tie-in at all. There wasn't anything distancing it from it, but there was no direct mention.
Right.
But in this one, it's very like it is very direct. Like, oh no, this is the same universe for sure. But we saw that. I kind of wish the little stinger at the end had not been included.
That was my big thing. I was like, oh wow. First of all, I guess I wasn't paying attention in the trailer, but that was a big part. I was like, oh wow, that just tied it in, and that should have been saved for the movie.
They must have something a lot bigger planned if they're gonna drop that in there. You know,
yes.
Like because I don't even want to talk about it in case people don't want it spoiled, because it is
right.
It is a giant spoiler.
Yeah, I guess that was just the studio wanting people to know this is tied in.
Yeah.
But yes. Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm in. I'm very interested. I like what they've done with him. I like the design.
Oh
it's very true to comics.
I wasn't on board until now. When I saw the trailer, I was like, "Oh, this could totally work."
Yeah, no, I was not really interested either, and now I'm genuinely excited for it.
Yeah, I'm definitely in. Now, when's that come out? You know?
June or July this year, I think.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and we talked about New Mutants a little bit. It's April 3rd, I think. It's coming up pretty quick.
Cool. Yeah, that's gonna be quick.
But I don't know. Excited for both of those.
Oh yeah.
Did you see the Thor: Love and Thunder rumors?
I did. Christian Bale attached.
If we don't get Beta Ray Bale, I'm gonna be kind of disappointed, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's pretty much what the internet thinks. Yeah, that's probably what it is. Yeah. I think even if he's not Beta Ray Bill, I think Beta Ray Bill is definitely going to be in it. The other person that they were hinting that a lot of people think he might be is what's his name? The what is it called? The fantasy creature that turns into a Mentor.
Minotaur?
Minotaur, that's it. Yeah, sorry. Minotaur. I'm an idiot. So Minotaur, yeah. There's a character in the Marvel universe who turns into that, and he's like this evil businessman. I guess that's the other guy that people think he might be.
Fair enough. I'm not really familiar with Thor's, I'm gonna say Rogues Gallery just to be generous, but I don't.
Yeah.
Like I don't.
Oh, he's definitely unknown. A lot of people don't know who he is.
Yeah.
He's been in the newer stuff with Jason Aaron, but he's totally if you're not even in this part of the Marvel universe, you're not going to know who he is.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So, but I hope it's Beta Ray Bill. That would be, I think, a lot easier probably for someone like Christian Bale's schedule where he can do the voiceover. It would be perfect.
Yeah, I imagine it's going to be a largely CG character.
Oh yeah.
But
Ooh, speaking of CG characters, I don't know if you heard about this news.
what?
If you talk about it, the so the guy who's basically leaked. I don't know if you want to talk about when we get into TV and whatnot, but the Star Wars news about where they're going with it.
Oh, the Old Republic, or what they're dubbing the High Republic era now.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So it's basically set right smack dab in between the Old Republic time frame and the prequels. So it's not as far back as Old Republic. So was it Darth Raven or whatnot? All of
Revan,
that.
yeah, that was
Yeah,
way on
Revan
back.
is way back. Yep. This is a complete unknown time frame. For most people, I mean, this is still like before Bane or after Bane, I think a little bit.
Yeah,
So there would be the rule of two during this time frame.
sure.
Um, but it would be, I think, more akin to the prequels stuff, which done right could be really good. Done right, because I think that the prequels were very CGI and very whatever, but that time frame was interesting because there were a ton of Jedi. They weren't as powerful as like the newer movies where they have way more abilities and stuff like that. So it's a way for them, I think, in my head, to bring it down a little bit. You have a fresh canvas with characters that no one knows, and you can set it to where you have multiple directors doing multiple stories in this time frame, and the characters don't have this 80-year history. Well, I guess it hasn't been 80 years, has it? No,
No,
not 80
40,
years.
42.
Sorry, 40, yeah. These 40-year, you're not having an issue with like a lot of people had with Luke Skywalker and stuff like that. It's going to be all brand new characters. The only legacy character that you could technically have in this really is Yoda, like a younger Yoda,
Right.
which isn't that bad because everyone loves Baby Yoda, right?
Yeah.
And he wouldn't be the Yoda we know.
Right, but
He
he
would
wouldn't
be
be that much younger. A couple hundred years to him is not a whole lot.
right, yeah, and I think this is about 400 years younger, so he would be right in the middle
Yeah.
of kind of where he's at in life. So I think that would be really interesting. My dumb idea was I was like, wouldn't it be? And this isn't going to happen, so this isn't really a spoiler. But I thought, wouldn't it be really dumb if the Baby Yoda we know is actually Baby Yoda, and somehow the Mandalorian has to send him back through time through that Rebel stuff, the world between wars, the
The
worlds.
worst thing that they did was introduce the world between worlds.
I completely agree. I completely agree. But I thought, wouldn't that be weird if at the end of the season he has to put Baby Yoda in that, and then Yoda goes back in time and he's actually Baby Yoda? That would be wild. But obviously that's not going to happen. It could technically happen, but they won't do that. We'll find out who Yoda is, or Baby Yoda, and we'll get a different name for him. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought that was funny. But this brings me back to what you were saying. That was a big part of the news. The guy who's leaking this, by the way, is the guy who's pretty much leaked all the correct information for Star Wars over Disney's era. And I guess a lot of people on the internet are calling it Phase One, and I think that's an easy way to call it.
Sure.
Yeah, what Disney's done with the Skywalker Saga plus the solo and stuff, that's Phase One. And this guy, the only reason I'm bringing it up because I don't like bringing up rumors and stuff like that. This guy's legitimate. Everything he has leaked has come true. He was the guy who leaked the information about Rise of the Skywalker, which I of course never read until afterwards. But everything he said came true in Rise of the Skywalker. So it's a credible source. He also a credible source. He's the one who's recently leaked the information that there's going to be a certain CGI character in Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Oh no.
And
Oh
he's going to have
no.
a beard, apparently.
No. Misa thinking this a bad idea.
I like that idea.
Ay,
Ahmed Best was, given a shitty situation, and the character was obviously just misused and was a total failure on all fronts, right?
Yeah.
I like the idea behind it. George Lucas was like, hey, we need something for kids. Probably should have been way more in the background. You know, his whole idea was Jar Jar Binks is going to be the, I forgot what the phrase was, but he was like, he's the one thing that makes everything work. Done right, I don't see why it couldn't work, especially if it's a him and Obi-Wan Kenobi. I guess the idea is that they do connect, and they they're in a depression. They realize what transpired, and how bad they fucked up. And I don't know. I like Ahmed best. I think it'd be cool to see him portray that character again in a serious way. I don't think he's going to be some goofy
No, because I
guy
mean, you
running
think about
around.
what happens. Jar Jar made Palpatine Chancellor
Oh
or
yeah, and
Emperor.
he has to live with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the state of the all the Jedi that were massacred. I think it would be interesting to see his where he's at in his headspace after that, and when he connects with Obi-Wan Kenobi. Again, it's a rumor. It's this guy saying that that all that work has been done. He didn't say he was going to be in the show. Technically, he said he knows that all of that has been done, and so it's possible we might see him in the show. So I don't know. I thought that was cool.
Okay, day.
Yeah, it's a rumor. Again, I don't know if it's going to happen. And should we cut that? I don't know if maybe we should even have that in the show
No,
because it
no, it's
doesn't happen yet.
fine. It's fine. We'll leave it.
Yeah, I don't know. Now that I've said it, I don't want to spoil it for anybody.
Rumors are out there, and as far as like this is one of those kind of rumors that everybody's gonna talk about. Like
And,
everybody's gonna run with that because nobody thinks it's gonna be true.
and that's the thing is like this doesn't seem like a plot spoiler. This just seems like a hey,
Right.
this character might show up. If that makes sense. Um, if it was like a plot spoiler, I wouldn't want to know it, and I would obviously wouldn't want to share it. But I thought it was like, oh hey, that character, that's the one guy that people would not want in it. I mean, their guttural reaction, I think, they're like your visual reaction, you're like, no, I do not want that character. But I think if done right, it could work.
It could.
Yeah. So I don't know. I thought it was interesting, but yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, I don't know. We'll see. It could definitely be interesting, but we'll just have to see.
Yeah. All right. Where were we? Oh, we
Uncharted.
just
Ruben Fleischer, who did Zombieland, is possibly going to be the seventh name attached to this movie.
wow. That's
I'm
insane.
pretty sure it's 7. Yeah.
Just stop at this point. Make it if anything, they should make that a TV show. That way you don't have to get these high-end directors.
Well, but I mean,
locking one down.
I mean, you're looking at the next gen Indiana Jones. Like,
Yeah.
I wouldn't, like, you're gonna need a budget for that. Like, it's gotta be a movie that way. And everybody wants a franchise. Like,
That's true.
nobody wants just a standalone thing anymore based off of a popular property. If you're gonna take something, I mean, something that stands by itself, like 1917, sure, that's one and done. It's meant to be the piece that it is. But for something based off of a property, like you want to ride that for all you can. So it's going to be a franchise. It's not going to be one movie.
Well, I guess I agree with you completely. This is just, I guess, a personal preference. I prefer the TV storytelling. I prefer that kind of
yeah.
like a series. You can get 8 to 10 episodes of. Imagine if Indiana Jones. I think they, obviously they did Young Indy, but imagine if Indiana Jones in its prime, if they did 8 episode, like a Netflix series, where you could tell this story of this, this mystery, or he's trying to figure something out. Like if the Last Crusade to me was the best of them. I know everyone loves the first one, but the Last Crusade, imagine if it was stretched out just a little bit more, and you got as much character development we got with like him and his father in it. Imagine if it was 8 episodes of a really solid story where you could have legitimate twists and turns and stuff like that, and it wasn't crammed into just a few hours. And it was a serial, which is kind of what they were trying. That's what they were trying to base it off of. I think that could be really cool. I completely agree with you. The studios would make more money making it a movie franchise, and it could be it's a total big blockbuster thing. So I completely agree with you. They'd be crazy not to do a movie series, but I think it would. I just think we are totally in the golden age of television, where it is just as good as movies. You look at The Mandalorian
Yeah.
compared to Rise of the Skywalker and these. I think it has an argument of, or I guess I could say, when people tell me I prefer The Mandalorian over the movies that Disney's doing, I understand that. I'm like, you know what? There's an argument to that. I think it would be really cool as a series. Obviously, like you said, a franchise where they continue doing it, but just like The Witcher, dude, that was what, eight episodes?
Yeah.
And I don't think you could tell that story in a movie. That the first season would be 3 movies
Agreed.
or 2, or yeah. So I don't know. I just think that would be totally cool. But yeah, dude, at this point 9, that's don't announce anything until it's now it's so much. What is it? What's the phrase? It's been out there so much. The Boy Who Cried Wolf or whatever. Like I'm not believing anything until they actually start filming.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, and the I don't know if I like the idea of a younger uh Nathan Drake, right? They're going for like a younger thing, and I especially don't like Mark Wahlberg attached to it. That doesn't make any sense. I know a lot of people are Mark Wahlberg fans, but
I
I
I
don't.
think I think him being a like middle-aged Sully is not a terrible idea.
It's not a terrible idea. I guess that's not what I want. Like an Indiana Jones, like you said. Like I want the main protagonist to
Yeah, well,
not be a boy, but a
remember
man.
when they
If that
wanted
makes
to
sense.
do like regular age Nathan Drake? Do you remember who they wanted to play him?
Who was it?
Mark Wahlberg.
Oh, see, that's insane. No, that is
He was
that's 10 times worse.
he was supposed to be Nathan Drake, and then when they decided we're going to go with younger Nathan Drake, and they said Tom Holland would be perfect, they just moved Mark Wahlberg over from the not quite so old guy role to the slightly older guy role.
Who played? See, and that's the thing is, I know Sony's doing this, but who would cast Mark Wahlberg as Nathan Drake? That just sounds like a joke. I know it's true. I know you're absolutely right, but that is insane.
You know, I wish I had an argument for it, but I mean, there's no. I mean, look at Mark Wahlberg in any kind of action or adventure movie he's done, because he's done others aside from Transformers, where he was terrible. But there was what? Oh my God, wasn't he Max Payne?
He was, I believe, yeah.
Yeah, he did that. Because
There's so many.
I like to remind people of that every once in a while because it's terrible.
Oh yeah.
It's awful.
I mean, there's so many other actors that could totally do it. Like, I don't know. I think of even like Josh Holloway could probably do it. I'm just trying to think. Chris Evans, maybe.
I yes, but not quite.
Bradley Cooper, maybe.
Bradley Cooper would be a decent one.
Yeah, Nathan Fillion's a little bit too old, unfortunately, but he would have been the perfect if they would have done this 10 years ago.
Yeah, if they would have
15,
if
20,
they would have jumped on this right when it came out, absolutely.
50, yes. Oh yeah. It's one of those where like he should have been Green Lantern a long time ago as well.
Yeah.
But yeah,
he was in the animated movies, so
that's true. That's true. Yeah. So I don't know, man. It's and that's the crazy thing. I mean, Sony had one of my favorite movies of all time. What, just last year with Into the Spider-Verse? Like they could totally make this right. Man, yeah, that's crazy. So many people falling off is just not a good sign.
Well, it's just, and I mean, it's been the I can't even remember the last director's name, but it was because of the schedule with whatever the next Spider-Man movie is.
Right.
So
right.
it's
that's the other problem is they got one of the youngest actors who blew up.
Yeah, but it's
which is great.
But it's their own studio. You'd think they'd be able to figure it out.
Exactly. Oh yeah, he was just in what was that animated movie you were telling me about?
Spies in Disguise.
Spies in Disguise. That's it. Yeah.
Although animated, I'm not going to sit here and say voiceover work is easier because it's not. But there's less. It's not quite as hectic a schedule because you're not flying to different countries all the time to shoot for 30 days, whatever. You do go into a studio to do your work, and it's a handful of hours instead of a handful of months.
Right.
But just it's a whole different animal. So that's not as long or as large of a commitment in terms of the logistics of it.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, being in Spider-Man, it's sets, it's travel, it's locations, it's craziness.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I agree.
But I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. Cool, cool, cool.
Where were we? I think that was it for the movie news, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, actually I'd like to throw in
What you
right
got?
before we get into TV. This I guess could technically be TV news. Um if you're listening to the show, I brought up Giant Bomb probably a million times. I love their podcast, their channel. They're great. They're hilarious, and I think I'm at the age where I listen more to them for their personality than video game news. Uh, just because there's a million people on YouTube that talk about video games and stuff like that, and they were been around before YouTube, but their podcasts and everything are just so great. There's a guy on it. We've talked about him, Dan Reichert, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's one of my favorites. He was on the West Coast for a little bit, then he went to the East Coast. Huge wrestling fan, and he's smart. He's really smart. He will. There's a lot of things he doesn't know, and he caught on real fast that got people talking when he would say things in podcasts where like he legitimately did not know certain things. Like I think he didn't know the difference between a briefcase and a suitcase, and he was like, "Well, that doesn't make any sense." And so, but he'll take it up to 10 a little bit, and it's hilarious every time because the people around him are like, "How do you not know this?" So anyway, everyone knows his love of life is video games. That's what he wanted to do his whole life. He wanted to talk about video games. He actually left Giant Bomb. I don't know if you heard this.
No, I hadn't.
Yeah, he legitimate, and I thought it was a what do you call a work? What
Yeah.
he was saying because he did that before when he went from the West Coast to the East Coast. The whole gimmick, he didn't tell anybody he was leaving. It was just on a show. They were playing some certain game, and he was like, "Okay, loser leaves town." And they're all like joking around. Obviously, they're in on it, but the audience didn't know. He was like,
Right.
no, 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 loser leaves town. Whoever loses this has to leave San Francisco. He lost, and then he leaves. People were like, what? That's a joke, right? He'll be on next week. And then the next week, he showed up on the East Coast podcast. And he's like, surprise, I moved. So, very into wrestling, obviously. He left Giant Bomb to work for the WWE.
Really?
Yes, specifically to produce their podcast.
Oh, so he's working on that side of everything now.
Yes. So the New Day, their podcast,
Yeah.
they just lost their producer. They just got Dan Reichert. It's more of behind the scenes. He's not in front of the camera.
Right.
He didn't he did say that like it might happen. It's a different world where he can be on the camera and the mic in the video game industry, but it's one of those like there's a lot of crossover obviously with people who play video games and listen to that world and wrestling, but if he just showed up on a podcast, people would be like, who is this guy?
Exactly, yeah.
But that's to a lot of people. I mean, who's the guy? There's a guy that's in that does the WWE shows. I forget his name, but he was like he did like radio in New York. There was a couple of them that just like they randomly did WWE shows, and they would be like a commentator before the events. It was like Sam something or another. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, yeah. I know exactly
Like
who you mean.
like I could see Dan totally doing stuff like that, where they would have to somehow introduce him, but he's absolutely going to show up on Up Up Down Down because uh, him and Woods have totally collabed on a bunch of stuff where he could just pop into that for sure. And he was very careful because he didn't say where he was going until after he left. And his last day at Giant Bomb, they allowed him to do a Mario Party, all 50 points or coins or whatever it was, or rounds, which is insane.
Good God.
And they hinted at like, well, where you're going, are you allowed to talk about games? And he's like, yeah. And he was like, are you allowed to talk about wrestling games? He's like, no comment. He was like, Dan, what do you think about the latest WWE game in 2020? And he's like, "All right, guys, let me tell you where where to find me." But if you want Dan Reichert as a podcast, him and his wife do a podcast called Panning the Stream, which is really good, where they'll watch television, they'll review it, and there's some series where they review like the whole show, and there's some where they just catch the first few episodes. But him and his wife does that, and it's great. So anyway, I wanted
Nice.
to throw that in for a second.
Very cool.
Yeah. Sorry, where were we?
Talking about the TV, we got some news about WandaVision. Apparently Disney has decided that it's too good to leave it until 2021, so they've moved it up to releasing sometime this year.
Okay. That should be really cool. That's gonna tie into a lot of things.
Yeah, and I think that's why. I think that's why they moved it up. They were like, this needs to get out. We're able to do this now. Let's get this out as quick as we can so that
Well,
there isn't anything. I think it's gonna hype up, Doctor Strange in particular.
Well, we didn't talk about that. The director for Doctor Strange 2 actually left.
Really?
Scott Dickerson, yes. A lot of people are speculating it's because
when was this? I totally missed that.
Yeah. Let's see here. Maybe it was like a week or so ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, I hadn't seen this, but yeah, here we go.
And a lot of people were speculating because I think Kevin Feige walked back a little bit of the horror. Because he came out on stage, the director, and was like, "This is going to be like their first horror," and I think I don't know. I don't want to say because I don't have it in front of me, but I think Kevin Feige walked it back just a little bit, and I think a lot of people jumped onto that as, oh, maybe there was some issues between the studio and the director and what they wanted to do with it, where I think at first they wanted to make, and I think this was actually the first movie too, like the first movie they came out were like, this is going to be a horror movie, and then it kind of wasn't, or it was sort of, where it seems all the news coming out from Doctor Strange Madness is it was horror at first, but I think over like the last few months it's mostly been like, hey, this is going to tie into a bunch of stuff, and this is how we're going to introduce the multiverse. And I think maybe that's the direction they're going with it, is it's going to be more of a multi-dimensional hopping thing than an actual horror movie. Again, I could be totally wrong. I don't have this stuff in front of me, but
given what a lot of the scuttlebutt is, it's looking like that they didn't have the movie that he thought they should be making, but They were committed to the release date. They've got the script they have, so we're gonna make this movie. And it kind of looks like Edgar Wright all over again, where it's like, this is not the movie this could be, and Marvel is saying, but this is the movie we want to make, and it is genuinely creative differences, but wow,
it sucks to see. I mean, it's kind of unfortunately become a big thing with Disney now, especially with Star Wars. We've seen, but at the end of the day, it's their movies. So that sucks.
Yeah.
That would be cool to see a legitimate horror movie. But who knows? We'll see when it comes out. But yeah, so the show, it's almost like they can be way more loosey-goosey with the television than the movies. But yeah, apparently that show is supposed to tie in directly to this, so that should be cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, it moves up to 2020, so it should come out this year.
Yeah, that's gonna
Is that the only one coming out this year, or there's the Winter Soldier one, right?
That was supposed to come out this year too, I think.
Yeah.
But
I've seen a lot of people unfortunately drop Disney Plus after The Mandalorian, which I think is crazy. It's at a more, I don't know, it's at a better price than a lot of these other streaming services.
Yeah, and you get more than your money's worth, man.
Yeah, but I mean, if I guess if classic Disney movies aren't your thing, you're not really interested in maybe Marvel or something like that, I could totally see you dropping it. But there's going to be a ton of stuff to come. I think even like Clone Wars, the final season starts, it's like in the middle of next month, so that should be interesting. Yeah. But cool. What else we got?
Sci-Fi is making a Child's Play series.
Okay.
It's just going to be called Chucky. It's going to ignore the reboot
Well, that's silly.
entirely. Well, they brought. I
Didn't
mean,
people like the
it
reboot?
didn't do that well though.
Uh,
I don't think
had
it
Mark
did.
Hamill in it, right?
Yeah,
Oh.
I don't know, but Don Mancini, who did all of the Chucky movies, who created the franchise and everything, is going to be the writer and showrunner.
Okay.
So, you know,
Cool.
I don't know. It'll be something else on Sci-Fi I don't watch because I just don't like. It's nothing personal or nothing against this. I'm just not. I
Yeah,
there's
that's the place that the Dresden Files were on, and it's oh, by the way, Dresden Files, the TV show, is on Amazon if you wanted to check it out.
okay.
I watched like the first episode, and it was like, oh yeah, this is not really anything. It was way more like, I guess, well, I guess a lot of people do like that one. Though it was more like Lucifer or whatever. It was more like a, hey, this is Ghost of the Week, and very like NBC, ABC, Fox kind of. They were like trying to go that route.
Yeah.
Uh, Instead of it being like in my head when I was listening to the audiobook and then reading it, was way more noir. But yeah, anyway, so but yeah.
But I don't know. That's we'll see how well that works out.
Yeah.
I mean that was pretty much all the like TV news I could find. Really,
Yeah.
it wasn't
Some big video game news came out. Sony announced, well, they showed their logo or whatever, but that wasn't the big news. They did announce, though, they will be skipping E3 this year.
Did they officially announce that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So they'll be skipping it, which basically means we're going to be getting some sort of Sony event, or they'll obviously announce their PlayStation 5, like their big.
It'll have its own thing.
It'll have its own thing, yeah. So, yep, they're doing that. So, kind of sucks. It's like bittersweet for E3. I want them to succeed, but man, I think the writing's on the wall now, especially when Sony is backing out.
Well, I mean, they've still got micro. I mean, micro. It's basically going to go back to Microsoft having their own big thing because I mean, it's even in their theater.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of this had to do with, well, a lot of stuff is behind the scenes. Like they've been wanting to kind of back away and do their own thing for a while. But a big issue last year was the data breach.
That's fair.
And I think that was like the third time it's happened now they found out with them. The big one was last year, the biggest one with them. But, ooh, I guess that played a part in it. That played a role in them not really wanting to come back.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I mean, Xbox, they'll probably be there. But, I mean, look what they did. They went to the video game awards and they showed the console.
Yeah.
And they talked about it a little bit. So, there's definitely other avenues now.
There are for sure.
Yep.
So, I don't know. We'll see a PSX with it, and they'll say up front like this is the big PS5 event.
Yeah.
Because they wouldn't have any reason not to.
Right.
But
oh,
I don't know. We'll see. I'm curious to see like how it's like what its launch titles are gonna be and everything. So I don't know.
Probably what was that?
Ghost of Tsushima will be one, I imagine. Not sure what else.
What's the one with the dinosaurs again? The robots.
Horizon?
That's it. I imagine that will probably be the big one.
I didn't know they were doing a sequel.
Oh yeah. I mean, I guess I'm saying that's one I imagine will be one they haven't announced yet.
Okay.
I think, like you said, the Last of Us 2. They'll probably have a lot of titles that are coming out this year that will also be on that. Like,
sure.
Ghost of Tsushima, like you said. What else? I think Cyberpunk 2020 is obviously going to be one of the big ones that people will get on it as well. I hope they have some sort of upgrade, like even if it's maybe like $40 or something, where it's like, hey, you already own it. We see it's in the system here. You bought it digitally. Here's the upgrade pack or something.
Yeah. I don't know.
But yeah, right out of the gate, I don't know. I think Horizon Zero Dawn 2 would be a big would be a big one.
It would certainly be a surprise, that's for sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Cool. There was some Batman news, right?
Yeah, what was it Rocksteady, tweeted a logo that's supposed to be for the Court of Owls, even though it's an eagle. And they're like, hey, so, we wonder what this is. And they're like, cool, it's the next Batman game, we guess.
Well, I
Like,
thought it was a badge.
it,
I thought it was a badge for Gotham, and it didn't it say something like "Get the Bat" or something?
I maybe in a later tweet, I saw the first one, and it was supposed
Oh,
to be like very Court of Owls inspired. And I'm just like, yeah, that's an eagle. Like I was not like this. I'm very not impressed by if they're really gonna. Why are they gonna do another Batman game? Why? They've told their story. It's over. Do something
yeah.
else. Uh,
I think. Hmm. Who was it again?
it's
Who's the studio?
Rocksteady, I think.
Rocksteady. I think. Let me see if I can pull it up. I don't know why. What was it their main one? Because I'm not seeing it.
I thought so anyway. But
Uh, I, well, I can't pull it up, but I think the eventual reveal was that it was like a badge, and it was like you're going after Batman, like he's
oh,
tar.
it was Warner Brothers Montreal that
Gotcha.
teased
Okay.
it. That's why.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's oh, that's right, because Warner Brothers Montreal did Arkham Origins, which nobody liked.
Right. 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 Yeah. So, Capture the Night is what the title is.
Yeah, with a
Yeah.
K.
Right. So, uh, this could be. Well, I guess he's already Nightwing in the Arkham series, right? Isn't he's not Robin. He's actually Nightwing. And wasn't Dick Grayson a part of the police department?
No.
Yeah, I thought Dick Grayson was a cop.
No,
Or
Dick Grayson was a child on the trapeze that
yeah,
Batman
but didn't
took
he
in.
eventually become a cop?
He became a spy.
Oh, that's what it was. I'm sorry. I
Yeah.
thought he was a cop. I thought he worked for. I'm sorry. I'm getting everything mixed up. Uh, but yeah, it's one of those like. It's been a while since the last one, but I'm kind of done with the Arkham series. I'd rather them focus on other characters.
Yeah. I'm not excited for this, especially when I saw it was WB Games Montreal. It's like
Yeah.
I'm not excited for this at all.
Right. Yeah. There was some Pokemon news, right?
Yeah, this was bigger news at least.
Yeah.
They announced there's going to be an expansion pass, and it's $30 because there are going to be two expansions: the Isle of Armor, which is coming out in June, and the Crown Tundra, which will come out sometime in the fall or later this year.
Oh, cool.
And it's gonna have all the new everything. It's gonna be new Pokemon, new versions of older gen Pokemon, new Galarian forms.
Now the two expansions are for both games, or is one for one and the other for the other?
They're both for both games.
Oh, cool.
But
That's
they
good.
will have unique Pokemon.
That makes sense. Okay,
Yeah.
so this is a better way of them putting out the same game the year later, and it being like the Crystal or the Pearl or whatever. Like this is and I even think actually Black and White legitimately had a sequel with Black and White 2.
Yeah.
But this is the perfect way for them to go, hey, we're not going to do that anymore because they actually have they could put out a Go series or a remake or something like that.
Yeah.
In the place of doing a special edition or whatever. So that makes sense.
I really wish they hadn't made the memes make sense, because Inteleon is a sniper now in its new Gigantamax form.
Oh, that's funny.
And it is like he's literally up in a nest with a little finger gun that's turned into a sniper rifle. So it's literally now Pokemon Sword, Pokemon Shield, Pokemon Gun.
That's funny.
And it's just goofy as all hell. It's ridiculous.
That's funny. Cool. Let's see here.
Yeah. I just thought like, okay, cool. I wasn't crazy about the new designs, but I'm interested to see more of, we got the Galarian forms of the three original legendaries, which I thought was kind of neat.
Yeah,
Uh, always down for that. Give me more Articuno, please. That's my
right.
boy.
Yeah, yeah, that was pretty neat. Cool, cool, cool. And there was like some other games too, right? There was what were the other Pokemon games they announced?
Oh, I didn't really check in on any of the other stuff. It wasn't anything I was really interested in.
It was like Mystery Dungeon or something like
And
that.
that's why. That's
Yeah,
never been a series I've liked.
right. Yeah, I agree. If they announced like Snap or something like that, people would go crazy. But yeah, the
Oh god,
random dungeon crawlers, people, yeah, it's
yeah.
one of their like side things.
Okay, give me a Pokemon Snap too. I'll be there in a heartbeat. Hell yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, video game news was kind of short as well. I think there was like a Golem game announced.
Oh yeah, the Lord of the Rings Gollum or
Yeah,
whatever it is. I'm like, yeah, it's
yeah,
gonna be on PS5 and Xbox One X, and everybody just went, okay. Like we
yeah. The studio's pretty small. I imagine this is going to be a very small game where you are stealthing, and it's not going to. I don't believe it's going to be this big grand game. It's going to be way more, a lot smaller,
yeah.
because the studio makes very small games. So I'm shocked it wasn't announced for like the Switch or something too. Uh,
Right.
yeah. But I think that's it. Do you want to talk about The Witcher before we head out,
Yeah.
or did you finish it?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I did
Yeah.
that. I did that in one. It was a blast. I really
Oh
enjoyed it.
yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I like the timey-wimey stuff. Oh, well, full spoilers, I guess. We're gonna spoil the hell out of it.
Yeah.
But go see it if you haven't seen it. But yeah, I thought it was pretty cool when I started to realize, oh, all of this is at different times.
Right. And I think you don't quite like the first taste of that is when it's like, oh, and they're going to the court of the king and queen who are
Mhm.
not the who are, it's the queen that we saw earlier, but it's
Yes.
way earlier. Like, oh, okay, so this is all it's just like in the book where
Yeah.
it's and I think seeing that going into it and having just that bit of back knowledge, I was like, oh, okay, I don't have to figure this out because I get what's happening. But
Yeah.
I heard some people weren't happy about that, and I just kind of didn't care because I thought, get over it. Like,
Yes. Well, it's one
it's,
of those things where a lot of people are on their phones, they're on their laptops, they're on their iPads, and they put it on as something in the background. There's someone who I watch Netflix with all the time, and if she's not paying directly attention to it, we'll watch like 3 or 4 episodes playing cards and stuff like that, and it will just we'll have no idea what's happening on the show.
eh,
It's one of those where that's a series you have to sit back and pay attention to, and not and put your phone down.
yeah,
And that's really going to be the only way you get it. Because you're right. Like the first time you see them, you're like, wait a second, we didn't we see that character? Like, wasn't something very different happening?
yeah,
And it's I don't know. It's imagine if Game of Thrones did that back then, people would have been like, what the fuck is going on? All these characters at different times, but yeah, you got to pay attention to it. And I like that by the end of it, it all kind of bottlenecks into they're all it all kind of comes together.
yeah,
Uh, and I thought it was great. You know, this was one of the first. We've had a few other fantasy series brought to television in the last few years. Obviously, Game of Thrones, His Dark Materials, and The Witcher. And I thought this was good. It was a good launching point for Netflix has sort of dived into fantasy a little bit with some of their series, but this was like the big one.
yeah,
Uh, and they're getting ready to do season 2, which will come out sometime next year. Um, and I'm glad it's a hit, and it worked. And it's one of those where like they started kind of having like a villain of the week, but it made sense. It all tied into the story. It wasn't completely separate. Um, and it was a cool way to show off like some of the creatures in the world. Uh, and I thought it did really good world building. It explained really well his limitations and what he can do. And I thought it did a good job explaining the magic system. And at first, actually, I'll take that back a little bit. At first, I was very confused about the Yennefer stuff. I loved the Yennefer stuff, but I was very like, what is happening? Why do they turn into eels? And I had to watch that again. I had to go back and rewatch that episode, and it was maybe because it was me not paying attention, but
Yeah.
it's like, oh, okay, they're being used and they're being pushed into that. But at first, I was like, well, what is happening at this school? It's like Harry Potter, but like very dark.
Yeah.
And and so it ties up later on. But I love the direction it's going, and it had a huge impact with people buying the game. I think like they showed Steam saying it had like the best sales ever that they've had.
Well, and I
Uh,
mean, it went on sale everywhere. Like, it was on sale on
yes,
PlayStation. It's on Game Pass right now.
right. That's very smart. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I picked it up on the Switch because I was like, I want to play this on the Switch. I want to play this sitting on the couch or wherever I'm at, and it is shockingly good. It's obviously, the graphics are dumbed down, but where it matters, like frame rate, it doesn't drop. I
Yeah.
think it dropped a handful of times during like the cutscenes and stuff. But when you're out in the world and you're hunting monsters and stuff, it works.
There you
And
go.
I don't understand how it works, but it does. And I think and from what I understand, all the reviews told, and I don't play on the TV, was like if you're playing it mobile, that's where it should be. Don't put it on the TV because that's where you can see all the warts.
Well, sure, yeah.
And I haven't done that. I played it on my Switch Lite mostly, so. But yeah, it was really cool. I thought it was a great show. The talk, the song stuck in my head.
Mm-hmm.
I saw that they had a mod for the PC, which is pretty cool. Where the songs in the game, so it's like during the cutscenes, or if you walk up to a bard on the street, they're playing it.
Nice.
I thought that was cool. But yeah, I loved it. I can't wait to see season 2.
Yeah, no, definitely very excited.
Cool, cool, cool. Well, is there anything else you wanted to get into before we go?
No, I think that's about it.
We'll go.
Hopefully have a review or two next week. I'll probably see Bad Boys at some point this weekend.
Okay. Well, fingers crossed. My family wants to go see 1917, so that's what I'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah, go to all the normal places you go to listen to us: Spotify, the Apple, the Android podcast, YouTube. Go to our Facebook group, We Geek Podcast. Send us an email, wegeekpodcast@gmail.com. And that's it. Until next time, Captain.
Captain.